is almost nothing in this room that didn't live another life before coming to me. And I love that. In a world that moves so quickly, where fashions change overnight and homes are expected to look endlessly updated, there is something deeply comforting to me about living among old things that have already lived long lives before me. Every piece in this room has survived changing tastes, changing houses, changing generations. There was a time when furniture like this was dismissed as brown furniture. Heavy, old-fashioned, unfashionable. So many beautiful pieces were painted over or discarded altogether, their patina hidden beneath layers of chalk paint in the pursuit of trends. But I could never quite understand that urge, because when I look at old wood polished by generations of hands, I don't see something gloomy or outdated. I see warmth. I see craftsmanship. I see history quietly glowing beneath the surface. Even now, the scent of lavender polish instantly takes me back to childhood. That particular smell belongs to drawing rooms and quiet afternoons, to the soft sound of polishing cloths moving over old wood, while sunlight fell across carpets and curtains. Some scents carry entire eras with them. These curtains covered in exotic birds once hung in my parents' drawing room when I was growing up. I've looked at them almost my entire life. Their colours and patterns feel stitched into my memory somehow, as familiar as family photographs. And beneath them, in the window recess, sits this little Victorian daybed, a place for reading, sewing, daydreaming, or simply watching rain against the windows with a cup of tea nearby. Old furniture was so often designed not just to be beautiful, but genuinely useful. That was one of the things I admire most about it. Nothing here feels disposable. The carved oak plant stands nearby are wonderfully theatrical in their detailing, and beside them stands one of my favourite pieces in the room, the great carved dresser with its lions' heads, griffins, baskets of fruit and stained glass doors. It looks as though it belongs in Hogwarts. Sometimes I open these stained glass doors and half expect magic to spill out. Instead, inside are sewing things, haberdashery tucked carefully into drawers, polished smooth with lavender wax, cotton reels, lace, fragments of projects waiting quietly for their turn. I think old furniture becomes lovelier when it continues to be useful. The dresser was never meant to stand untouched like a museum object. It was meant to serve a household, and it still does. Next to it hangs an ornate Victorian Gothic mirror, which sadly had already fallen victim to chalk paint by the time I found it. But even beneath all of that, I could still see its beauty. Its many tiers and tiny mirrors were simply too enchanting to resist. Perhaps that's another reason I love old things so much. Even wounded things can still possess immense beauty. Across the room stands a barley twist lamp with the most enormous fringed Victorian shade, found years ago at a car boot fair. The sort of thing many people might pass by without a second glance. But to me it feels wonderfully alive. I think homes become interesting when they are filled with objects chosen out of affection rather than fashion, not because a magazine told us we should love them, but because something about them spoke to us personally. There is a Victorian corner hall stand with a carved lion's head drawer. Where I display my hats. And on it rests a large Lostelware jug filled with silk flowers. I've always loved the slight theatricality of Victorian interiors, the richness of them, the layering, the refusal to apologise for ornaments. Decorating advice so often tells us to simplify, declutter, reduce. But I think there can also be great comfort in abundance, in rooms filled with memory, in corners where the eye continues discovering beautiful little details. The old Singer sewing machine from the 1920s is another piece I treasure deeply. Beautiful, practical, enduring. It still works, and that amazes me sometimes when I wonder how many modern objects will still be useful in 100 years. It sits upon a little table whose leaves can be pulled out in tiers. Another example of furniture designed with ingenuity and care. A battered Victorian chair still proudly displays its caning despite the marks of age upon it. And I don't mind signs of wear. They remind me these things have actually been lived with, touched, used and needed. Too often now, I think, we are encouraged to make our homes look untouched, almost as though nobody truly lives there at all. But I think homes should feel inhabited. They should tell stories. The writing desk and the old foxed mirror above it both came from my parents' drawing room too. The mirror no longer reflects a perfect image. Instead, it offers only a softened blur, scattered with silvering that catches the light in the most extraordinary way. Old mirror glass sparkles differently, more mysteriously, silver, glittery, not flat. And on the desk sits a Victorian music box among little china vases collected simply because I found them beautiful, not valuable, not fashionable, but simply loved. There is a freedom in allowing yourself to love things wholeheartedly, even when they fall out of fashion. Not everyone will understand this room. Some people would prefer sleekness, minimalism, perfect neutrality, and that's perfectly fine too. We are all comforted by different things, but I think our home should reflect what genuinely moves us rather than what earns approval from strangers. A home should not feel like a showroom. It should feel like a refuge, a haven for ourselves, our memories, and the creatures we share our lives with. The Edwardian dressmaker's mannequin near the window still carries the elegant S-bend silhouette fashionable in its day. I rescued her from a vintage fair years ago, and she has stood here ever since, like a quiet, friendly ghost from another century. Nearby sits a great blue and white bowl overflowing with silk hydrangeas given to me by my father when he moved to a smaller home. The daybed is layered with tapestry cushions and a fro woven by my mother, which makes it even more precious, because the things that we inherit through love become part of the atmosphere of a home. A 1920s parasol rests nearby, decorative now rather than practical, though once it would have accompanied somebody through summer streets long vanished into history. There's such romance in that thought. Even the little occasional table with its embroidered top was designed with thoughtfulness. It flips neatly away when not needed. Another small reminder that old furniture so often balanced beauty with practicality. As I lay the embroidered 1930s tablecloth across the fold-out Victorian table and prepared tea in a green 1930s primrose tea set, I sometimes think how extraordinary it is that all these objects have survived wars, house clearances, changing fashions, entire lifetimes, and still they remain here, quietly useful, quietly beautiful. I think that is what I love most about old things. Not perfection, not investment value, not status, but their endurance, the sense that beauty can survive long after trends have come and gone. And perhaps there is comfort in that for all of us. Maybe we too become richer, softer and more interesting with age, rather like the old wood beneath lavender polish glowing quietly in the afternoon light.